I am back for episode 8 of the CRC Podcast. We have a lot of racing to talk about, so in the interest of time, we're going to try to go over them as quick as we can, but not too quick. But there's just so much to talk about, so many highlights, both in World Superbikes and both in MotoGP as well. World Superbikes, it was like practically a back-to-back doubleheader weekend for World Superbike and MotoGP. So we're going to start off recapping the last 2 rounds of World Superbikes in Aragon and also in Assen, and then from there on we're going to move on to MotoGP. But before I get started, I want to say thank you to my 2 co-hosts, obviously Rob and Kevin, for holding down the fort while I was gone. I listened to the episode, and it's as if there was no loss in quality whatsoever. So good job, guys. Give yourself a pat on the back on that one.
Yeah.
Say hi to the listeners.
What was it like? What was it like listening to it after having not been a part of it?
I kept wanting to say, "Shut up, Kevin! Shut up, Kevin! Shut up, Kevin!" Throughout the episode. But it's normal. It's what I think in my head while I'm talking to you guys right now. So it's really just the same.
So it's like you were.
That's the most right.
Awesome.
Yeah. No, it was great, and that's good to know because I think Rob had touched up on it the last episode, but it was good practice because I am going to have to be out of the country for next month, right in the middle of the next round of World Superbike and MotoGP. So the listeners can expect another Kevin and Rob show without Dennis. So I'm pretty sure everybody else enjoyed it like I did. So off to a good start on that one.
Stop shouting! I'm not deaf.
Oh, I forgot to mention I have someone sitting in with me.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
An audio bite? Was that Wu-Tang?
What was that?
Hello, everybody. I'm Detective John Kimble.
What is
I'm
that?
a idiot.
Come on, Dennis.
So we got my boy John Kimble. He's sitting in with us. He'll be bounced in and out, a little commentary on the side.
Stop shouting! I'm not deaf.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? That's actually a good addition because the one thing I want to, before we start off with the road racing talk, is if the listeners haven't figured out yet, there won't be a slideshow accompanying this podcast this time. We're going to decide to go back to audio only during the on-season because editing a video podcast actually takes up a lot of our times, and we do have lives outside of this one, so a little bit more color commentary, be it from Kevin or something automated, is fine, really.
Yes.
It's totally random. All right. Well, you know what? On that note, let's move on to the road racing talk. We're gonna start off with World Superbike, Aragon, which it's round 3, right? I believe.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, round 3 of World Superbike was held in Aragon. Race 1 as far as the week. What's that?
I love your Spanish accent, by the way.
It's
it's muy bueno.
But whatever. Órale, way.
Yeah.
So race 1, Aragon. First and foremost, Haslam secured the pole position on his Aprilia, which was a surprise because everybody, including himself, was practically expecting the Aprilia to be a non-contender that weekend, but he did. Regardless, the battle at the front of that race really was mainly between Sykes, Rhea, Davis, with Sykes actually looking like he was back to form, being in the lead. He even built himself a gap from his teammate in second place, but eventually Rhea actually managed to claw back the gap and make them run Sykes with just a handful of laps left, and a little bit to the chagrin of fans, Sykes wasn't able to retaliate. We were kind of hoping to finally see a proper mano-a-mano on the Kawasaki boys, but it never occurred on that. Rhea went on to take his 4th win of the season with just 5 races. Even though Sykes was behind Rhea, he actually did concede the 2nd place to Davis.
By the way, am I the only one who thinks it in their head, Davies? It's not spelled Davis.
Yeah, but he came out like last year, like some announcer asked him about it, and he was like, "Well, actually, it's Davis."
Oh, okay.
Because he was
fuck him. What does he know?
Because he was born in the UK and he just lived in America so long, and Americans butcher names all the time.
Right, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, then, in the interest of appealing to both, I'm gonna say Chaz from here on out. Is that all right, Kev?
Yeah.
And you're
Yes.
fucking A. Anyway, Sykes actually had to give up the second place podium on race one to Chaz because Chaz was able to have a much stronger race towards the end of race one. He actually had a proper battle with Rhea in the last two laps up to the last two corners, but lost to the drag to the finish line. And it turns out that Chaz just made a mistake. Something about inadvertently hitting a switch on his bike during the race, which didn't really give him the optional setting for the race until he figured it out and then sorted it out and then managed to, make that late charge. But in race two of Aragon, Chaz wasn't about to make the same mistake, and he clearly did not because he took the whole shot, never looked back, and won it in a fashion like he did, 2 or 3 years ago, the last time he was in the BMW and had his first double win in Superbike. So. To Kevin's delight, Chaz finally broke Ducati's
Fucking finally.
Yeah, like 50 races, I believe, over 50 races without a win since the last time they did.
Yeah, well, it was the first win for the Panigale, and that bike's been out for forever now.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. They had was it? God, I forgot his name already. That's kind of horrible, but Carlos Checa. Can't believe I forgot his name already. He wasn't able to do anything with it, even though he won the title on the previous Ducatis, like the year before. So
yeah, I mean,
that's good. And actually,
it obviously wasn't developed at all when they first brought it out, and it's kind of sad that they've needed rule changes to make it competitive. But hey,
that's like their thing, though.
Yeah.
Let's not get started on Ducati's thing and cheating and racing, whatever, blah blah blah.
But we are. We're going to talk about it the whole episode.
There is something that occurred to me as far as Ducati is concerned, or Chaz, is if we didn't have Johnny Rea on the Kawasaki this year, Chaz has been in the last few rounds, the last few races have been up front, like he's been a bridesmaid how many times now? So if we didn't have Rea dominating the way he's dominating, they could have had their first win a lot earlier this season. If you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I wonder.
Well, he got some seconds last year too, didn't he?
Did he?
Towards the end, maybe.
I think so. I don't know.
I'm just saying, I think they're clearly on a very good form, and what they're doing is working. It's just kind of slightly overshadowed by the fact that, Johnny Rea has come out of the barn just storming the whole grid. So, but
I think Rea is going to continue to do that. I think no one else even has a chance this year.
No, absolutely, I agree on that one. And actually, speaking of Rea, let's moving on to recapping the Assen and Round, which is round 4 of World Superbike. That time out, Tom Sykes had the pole for the weekend, but in race 1, it was Rea who got the whole shot and pulled the Chaz, and it was just lights out. As soon as he got the whole shot, he had the lead the whole time and never conceded it. Although the interesting thing is that he was hounded the whole time, not just by Chaz, for example, but at some point, there was like a 5-guy fight for the lead in race 1, and even though Rea was up front the whole time, there was a lot of battling behind him between Sykes, Chaz, Haslam, and even Michael Van der Mark. So that was pretty exciting. But eventually, Rea and Davis broke away at the front. Sykes, I don't know what's going on. They're kind of
broke away is a relative term because they still only finished the race like 4 seconds ahead of Van der Mark. So
yeah, relative to how they were doing the entire race, where it's been kind of like a 5-bike train.
Yeah, it was the pressure. The pressure that Rea finally had the entire race made it much more exciting. It was just like, is he actually going to win it? Like, if he didn't manage the tire life, then there was a chance that he was going to get passed by someone. And obviously, both him and Davies did manage the tire life a little bit better than Van der Mark, Haslam, and Sykes, which allowed him to pull away towards the end there. And it was awesome to see.
Right, only with that said, Rea even did better than Chaz because whatever he was conserving, in the last 2 laps, he pulled the pin and he just gapped Chaz. Chaz, it was the start of the race.
I think at the end of the penultimate lap, Chaz made a mistake coming out of the final chicane, and just like spun up a little bit much, and that was like half a second right there. And then Ray pulled another half a second on him for the whole last lap. It was kind of cool to see, like, or it makes you wonder, like, was Ray like kind of just like chill the whole time? Like, did he not care about the pressure, or was he like was he actually pressured? So I mean, we don't know. I haven't seen anything.
Well, that's a good question, because I thought about that after these last two rounds. The last 4 races where Ray has bagged 3 wins, he's effectively done them in 3 different fashions, either leaving the grid for dead back in Aragon race 1, or being, like you're saying, calm, cool, collected in race 1 in Assen, and allowing people to just be behind him but not really being affected by it.
Yeah.
Or in race 2, well, again, just kind of like answering what Chaz had for him in race 1 and never giving Chaz that kind of chance to be that close to him. It's almost scary how many different ways Ray can win in any given race.
Well, it's only scary for everyone else.
Well, yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I mean, he's essentially pulling a Marquez, but he's doing it better. I think the competition, isn't there for him right now, but he's destroying the entire field. And I'd be very surprised if he finished off the podium this year. Like, it's
and it's a real shame that Sykes is not able to kind of mount a challenge that people are kind of been waiting for. But something's up as far as him and his crew working out setup, especially after the recent regulation changes. I mean, they're making stride because they're going forward, but they're also taking a step back. So he can't seem to have an answer for Johnny Ray at this time.
Yeah, it's definitely like I was hoping for that battle, like, the entire offseason, like Ray versus Sykes, but yeah, it's definitely kind of sour that Sykes is he's only 4th in points. He's got like half the points of Johnny right now, which is
and what people are waiting for basically is kind of like what Loris Bass and Tom Sykes had in Donington Park like last season. It was a proper like fisticuff between the two Kawasaki boys, which Sykes came out on top of. But basically, that's what we're waiting for from the Kawasaki boys right now, from between Sykes and Ray. But we're still waiting on that. The other notable performance for the Assen round is Michael van der Mark, the rookie, bagging his first 2 double podiums in his home crowd in Assen. He rounded out the podium in both race 1 and race 2 and 3rd. Chaz Davis actually did the 2nd place podiums in both races again. So it was actually very similar, the race 1 and race 2, as the race and the results, with a little bit of changes here and there. But I enjoyed watching Michael van der Mark on that Pata Honda in Assen, actually.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. I mean, it brought up like the same thing that we saw in Thailand in World Supersport. It's just the local rider like finally getting onto the podium and doing something awesome. It just, it pulls at the heartstrings a little bit and makes everything more exciting. I really thought that he had no chance whatsoever of doing that. I mean, the Honda is good around the corners, and Assen is about carrying pace, but their performances earlier in the year, it's just like I thought he had no chance. So
and he also really qualified relatively poorly. He was like, I don't know, 7th or 8th or something, or mid-pack in the qualifying.
Yeah, he qualified 8th.
But it was kind of nice, I guess, in a way, because it was a bit kind of Johnny Ray-esque, the way he's riding that Pata Honda, which we know is, God knows how old it is, but to still see somebody be able to make it relatively competitive, it's I don't know, I appreciate that.
Yeah, they got their new Johnny Ray. They got the guy they brought up through the ranks, win the title, stick him on a shitty bike, tell him to override it, and hurt himself for a while until he smartens up and goes to a different team.
Yeah, well, and like Johnny Ray, he'll do good at Assen.
Yep. And he'll have a bunch of misplaced loyalty because he won the title for him, they gave him his first shot, and then he'll realize he wasted about 6 years of his career when he should have been winning a title or 2 and moving over to MotoGP.
Right. And he's actually a double Suzuka 8-hour winner for Honda as well, kind of like how Johnny Ray has won the Suzuka 8-hour for Honda. That's why he's the Honda's poster boy as well.
Yeah, and he'll probably get another one too this year with his teammates.
Stoner, yeah, absolutely. Fucking A. Anyway, I've got one other thing I'd like to mention. If you the listeners, and I don't know about you guys if you ever watched the World Supersport, but one of the most beautiful, awesome passes I've seen in a while is in World Supersport. Jules Cluzel pulled it off on Keenan Sofawagalu over at the last chicane. An outside around the outside pass into that chicane.
I was totally wondering if you were going to mention the last lap, but you said Cluzel, and I was like, wait a minute, he did not win.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to make mention of, I mean, I saw it, I was like, what the heck? Like, it was beautiful. It was beautiful, that pass.
Yeah.
What Sofawagalu did is fucked up.
Oh, you're on that side of the fence? I think they're both whiny little. I think Cluzel's a whiny little, you know what?
Well, he's French.
Maybe. Well, yeah, it's kind of redundant saying that, but all right. No, I just, to me, from what I've seen in different angles, when I was watching, when I first saw it, and then the replays, it was a little bit. It kind of looked like that he did cut off. I mean, tried to cut off the nose. Like I don't know. It didn't fly too well with me when I saw it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit past they were trying to take up the same space on track. It was kind of more just like, hey, I'm gonna make this hole bigger that you left. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm fine with the fact that neither of them really got chastised or anything. I actually
Right.
And I'm fine with the results. Like they need to continue to duke it out. Maybe it'll make the rest of the year better. Hopefully Cluzel can keep his engines working properly.
Yeah, that was the first time he finished a race in the last 3 races, so that definitely, I mean, you know, that's a plus in itself.
That was the first time the championship leader finished the race.
Yeah.
Which is nuts. I mean, usually Supersport, like everyone's, you know, pretty reliable. Like it's usually the same couple of guys at the front, but for everything that we have had happen already, especially in Thailand and all that stuff, it's been pretty awesome. But I mean, I don't expect Sofawagalu to run away with it. He's good on that bike, but he's still definitely missing something.
I agree.
If Cluzel can keep the bike together, which will be hard for them because MV Agusta is apparently already cutting his practice distances so that they can make the engines last. Because they
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they get I think they get 6 engines, and thankfully they only have 12 races. But I mean, I guess the Supersport engines are in a higher state of tune than the Superbike ones now.
Yeah, they're probably more high strung too.
Yeah, I mean, because Superbike has a comparable number of engines, but they have twice as many races. So it's kind of nuts that they're able to last that long and that Supersport can't. But Cluzel, his team, he's doing considerably less laps in practice, which will help out Sofawagalu. Like, I mean, even if it's not a physical advantage, it's going to be a mental advantage. So we'll see how that goes.
Indeed. And as far as recapping the World Superbike weekend, that's all I've got unless Rob or Kevin has anything more to add. I'm ready to move on to MotoGP.
I didn't watch it, so.
Did your boy watch it at least?
I don't know. Did you? Huh.
Affirmative.
Interesting. And how long were you watching World Superbike, huh, buddy?
2 hours and 53 minutes.
Oh, wow. You watched all 3 races. Cool.
Oh, Jesus.
More time than I had over.
All right, so who wants to do the recap of MotoGP? Rob, Kevin, or... Yeah, that guy.
Recap? We can't even... There is no recap.
Try and start somewhere, okay? How about in CotA?
All right, CotA was Marc Marquez's amazing qualifying lap. It's kind of funny. He actually had to run at both weekends in his leathers.
Right, and I think that's its own thing. You know, he's got enough shit going on. He's sprinting around to kind of maintain, you know, his grip over the paddock, the slipping grip.
I mean, because Yanni Hernandez did it at Qatar or something, right? Like he went out, the bike had a technical problem, and he just sprinted back to the box, and everyone the announcers made a big deal about that. But Marc Marquez, it worked at CotA. It didn't really work in the next round.
No, it did not.
But
let's not jump ahead yet, because that's a topic in this.
Back
to CotA.
So CotA, so that was kind of the highlight of CotA though, right? Like it was the most unexpected thing. It was just like, oh, I think he was 8th in qualifying when the bike just decided to quit crossing the line. He actually almost got hit by someone because he pulled like a rookie or a new move and just like dashed across the line and someone almost punted him from behind. And then he still pulled it out, which was nuts.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. And one of the cool things about Q2 and the format, the short format, he basically had to get back out there. And I mean, clearly with the speed he had that weekend, he would have won from 8th anyway. But I think after kind of the disaster that was for him at Qatar, he needed to put a stamp on something and remind people, like, I do miraculous things.
Yeah, and then the lap that he did, right, like cresting that corner and just digging the rear tire into, like, dropping it off the edge of the curbing and getting all huckabuck and then still carrying time. Like, I think Dovey was following him at the time, and Dovey was just surprised that he was able to like have the bike be that unsettled and still carry all that pace because he put it on pole. So I mean, it was obvious that the pace was there. I like how on Barf someone still continues to use like Marc Marquez as justification for something about a bad riding style, and yet he's still setting like world record qualifying times.
Right.
No, I remember watching that like 4 minutes, and first of all, I was like excited to have seen Dovey secure the pole just before that miraculous 3 minutes.
Yeah, seriously, I was sure that he had it. I was like,
yeah,
he was positive that he had
too,
it.
Which was exciting in itself on its own. And then it was just like what the hell just happened? Like, jump the wall, run to the second bike, go out, and they showed him riding the way it was just like you didn't think that's how you would do it, but he did. It was just bizarre, crazy, and awesome, like all at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's a little interesting, though. He needed pole position that much that he sprinted, got on the bike, run a ragged-ass, lap where he's nearly fallen off the curbs and stuff. It's just, fucking qualifying. I don't know, like, I'm reminded of that sig line Ernie has about, like, why, like, Rossi talking to Brattlebell, like, why are you trying so hard, bro? It's just practice. You need the energy for the race. Part of me wonders if that's trying to put a stamp on things because he's feeling a little more threatened right now than he was last year.
It has to be. I have to agree with you on that one.
Yeah, I mean, he had it together at CotA. Like, it definitely made sense. Like, the win it or bin it attitude at CotA worked. Like,
right, but that's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, which we found out. But
as we were to find out 7 days later. How many days?
Just move on to Argentina. You guys can't wait to talk about it already. So just move on to Argentina.
Well, let's talk about the race for like 30 seconds.
Okay, here's the thing about CotA. Marquez's lap was cool and surprising and all, and Rossi fanboy. I was more surprised, hopeful, excited that Rossi at basically his bogey track, as Rob put it at one point, scored a podium. A track that he hasn't done shit at in the 2 previous years he's been on Yamaha, and he got a podium. His shitty track, his relatively worst track of the season, and there he is on the box. Is a good sign that Yamaha is working for that team solid. Which is pretty crazy considering the what people feel is the obvious technical disadvantages the Yamaha has at that bike, at that track, behind Ducati and behind obviously Honda.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny to see, like, we've been talking about the Ducati horsepower and all the extra fuel and stuff, but Marquez and Dovey were not. There was the distance between them when they got on that straight was pretty much constant. Like we know from Qatar that the Ducati has tons of power on Yamaha, but compared to the Repsol, it's about the same. I mean, Rossi is at a severe disadvantage, but yeah, it's pretty much his worst track on the calendar, and he put it on the box. And I mean, I called it in episode 7 that if he does well here, we're like, if he does well at CotA, that's the start of his title challenge. And thank God we're doing this episode after Argentina.
Right. And obviously Dovey getting another. To me it was another example. That bike is just continued to improve. He put it on the box last year in 3rd. This year he gets 2nd, and he's much closer to the leader than he was last year. His 3rd place last year was a 3rd place technically, but he was days behind Marquez. They've closed the gap considerably to Yamaha and Honda, even though they haven't won a race. He's so much closer.
Yeah, I think we touched on that in episode 7.5 that Dovey finished 19 seconds behind at CotA last year, whereas this year he was 15 seconds. And Aleix was 19 seconds behind this year, and he was 8th. So there's a dramatic difference. I mean, the track was slower. They actually 43 minutes and 47 seconds this year, and I think last year it was 43:33. So I guess not that much slower.
1 second.
No, it was more than a second.
I mean, but the weather was terrible, right? The track never probably rubbered in as well as it could have. I mean, at the same time, though, I don't think that affected the results at all, right? Like, Rossi has definitely improved considerably, and the Ducati is light years ahead of where they were last year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, CotA wasn't the greatest race ever, but you learned a lot from it as kind of a preview to the season. Marquez getting his win, but probably having to run a little more ragged during the weekend than he was used to. The Ducati is still up there and improving, and Rossi is clearly better than he was. He's clearly on the form that he was the end of last year. I don't know if Misano, if everything came together because of, he's gotten a couple wins since then, but I think CotA was a good benchmark for what we're going to see this year. We learned a lot about it. It wasn't the most exciting race, but you learned a lot.
Yeah, and it's not a track that's usually indicative of the whole season, so it's great to see that we're still getting that quality of racing. So,
Plus, they gave out the most obnoxious trophies anyone's ever given out.
Oh my God, absolutely! That was just I'm so glad I live in California.
No, wait, what was second and third was like...
They were gears, dude. Like, straight out of Vortex, catalog, you know what I mean? Like, they got some cool Vortex stickers with it, slap them on the swing arm and said, "Here's your gears, bro."
Hey,
I literally got better trophies from the last jiu-jitsu tournament I was at in that tournament.
Yeah, well, that's because they spent all the money on the freaking horns for the first place trophy.
Oh my God. No, that was stuff of nightmares, actually.
Right.
But yeah, so Marc Marquez won that one. He didn't win it handily, but he definitely controlled the whole race. And then we moved to Argentina, and the tide kind of turns. It didn't really change that much during practice.
Did anyone get their laptop stolen?
Their what?
Aleix Espargaro got his laptop stolen from the thief Argentinians last year.
Oh, that's right.
The bandidos.
Exactly.
No, everyone just was raped on hotel prices and travel costs and stuff again. But at least Jack Miller got to ride pretty fast.
The other thing I ever heard about Argentina was...
This naked man all oiled up.
Yeah. Just naked dudes everywhere, all oiled up.
I'll have to take your word for it. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Bullshit.
You know all about naked dudes. No, but yeah, Argentina was fucking sweet.
Yeah, and you know what? You know why? Because like Rob was saying earlier, because prior to the race, nothing was foreboding that what was going to turn out was what turned out. That was not scripted throughout practice, qualifying, blah blah blah, right?
Yeah, we were all very surprised. And I think that comes down to the fact that Rossi was apparently working on the hard tire pace the whole weekend.
Yeah,
right? He didn't even.
Yeah, he openly admitted that they knew the extra hard was what they were doing, and that was it. They tried the hard once or twice. It wasn't there. Extra hard. From FP1, they were thinking win the race. Nothing else. He didn't care about qualifying, he didn't care about practice, as long as he got into Q2, so he put in some good laps in FP3, but that was really it. They were flying under the radar from everyone else, and he was pulling up on them like Jaws, man. Dun-dun. Dun-dun.
Yeah, I mean, because, well, in FP1, right, we had the really dirty track, and we had some, like, gnarly people up front. Like Nicky Hayden was in 6th, which just tells you how screwed up the grid was.
Poor Nicky.
But things got a little more normal, right, for FP2, and then they kind of just kept going. Like, it was great for the excitement of all the practices and the whole weekend to see Aleix like so close to the front. But we knew that was with the medium tire, and we know for a fact that the Suzuki can't hold that pace during the race. Like, Argentina is not a horsepower track, but you got to try really hard. But just
for the record, seeing Suzuki hold the lead just even for a minute, it was a sweet sight.
How many corners was it? It was like 4 or 5 corners?
No, it got to be more than that. Come on now.
I don't think so.
200 corners.
But yeah, no, you're right. That beautiful bike up front, and knowing that Aleix was putting in all the effort, like his crew chief said, I can't remember if it was before the race or after, but essentially they said, like, Aleix is the perfect rider for developing this bike because you know that he's just giving 110% every time he goes out there. And given his performances so far this year, we're seeing exactly that. Like,
it's the polar opposite of when Kenny Roberts was developing that 4-stroke, when he just outright said, like, I can't win, so I'm not really going to try very hard. Yeah,
and a lot of people have, like, I mean, Cal said that on the Ducati, like, Dovey never said it, but the look on his face kind of told us that.
Yeah, you knew.
Yeah, like when people, like, I mean, I feel like even Rossi lost motivation, when he couldn't win on the Ducati, like, and it's terrible to bring up the Ducati for that, but it's the most recent example. But Aleix is just, he's pushing unbelievably hard, and I really hope Suzuki doesn't let him down.
Yeah.
Yes!
But anyway, continue on to what we were saying, Rob, before I interrupted with the Suzuki thing.
I have no idea. I lost it. What was I talking about?
Excuse me, I have a few more questions if you don't mind.
You guys are just recapping the practice session, the qualifying, etc., leading up to the race, basically.
Well, I mean,
right. Yeah, I mean, we were talking about kind of the Rossi kind of hiding, sitting back, working on his thing, not being a big story of the weekend. Obviously, during practice, the story was that even when the track cleared up and the rubber got down and the other bikes got, Aleix was still up there. I mean, he put it on the front row.
Yeah, I mean, the only 2 riders that were consistently up there in practice were actually Marquez and Cal. And Aleix. And it was definitely cool to see Cal working up there too. He definitely made some mistakes in the race, like kind of pushed that rear tire a little too hard on corner entry, like around like lap 7, and then had to fall back a little bit. But it was just so interesting to see like 3 different approaches to the race, right? Like Rossi had the hard tire approach, and he knew that he just had to build speed consistently. Like Marquez blatantly he pulled out 4 seconds early on and just tried to run away with it, knowing that he was going to get, maybe not knowing that he was going to get caught, but hoping that he wouldn't. And then Dovey, and Cal kind of were in between, of where like they wanted to push in the beginning, but at the same time, like they didn't want to push too hard because then the tire would have fallen off more. But like we saw that Cal did push too hard, and he started making mistakes. And Dovey, given the smooth rider that he has been for a really long time, he obviously kept more in the tire compared to the other 2 that were with him.
Yeah, and that's its own interesting story, because there's a lot of musing that for the first time the Factory 2 option actually kind of was a detriment to them, because they kind of needed the extra hard and didn't have access to it.
Yeah, I kind of wonder what the GP15s could have done on the extra hard tire. I mean, would they, like, I bet you one of them would have went with the hard, like maybe Iannone would have went with the hard, and then Dovi would have found a different setup and went with the extra hard.
Right.
But still, Dovi with the hard was able to follow Rossi up until like 2 to go.
Right, when he kind of made his break, and really went out after it.
Yeah, which arguably might have actually been a better strategy for the hard tire than what Marquez did. Because
I think Marquez messed up. I think, he burned up his tire actually before Rossi got there because he saw that sign. Rossi clearly, he's a half a fucking second faster than him, and he's catching up. And then Marquez kind of tried to respond and put in a pretty fast lap and burned the rest of the tire up.
Yeah, it was actually the lap that Rossi set the lap record. He gained like 8 or 9 tenths on Marquez. And the following lap, Marquez dropped like 4 or 5.
It was a huge drop off.
Yeah, and I think that was it. Like his following lap was like his slowest for like the second half of the race, and then the other laps like kind of returned back to the pace, but it was just too much. Like they've talked about a few times how they can kind of let the tire cool down and it gains some grip back. So that's probably what he did on the lap following where he dropped the pace, which helped him get back to the laps. But by then it was too late. Like you can't drop not as much as the other guy and then slow down 7 tenths and expect him not to be on your ass.
Right.
Can I just say that this storyline of Rossi basically flying under the radar and working on the setup or kind of like the race, and then Marquez coming out of the barn door, kind of guns blazing. Do you know what storyline this whole thing kind of reminds me of? Anybody?
What specific race are you thinking of? Tell us.
Who is it this time?
The tortoise and the hare is what comes up in my head.
Oh, what the fuck? Are we 5? The tortoise and the hare? I thought you were gonna. That was. I needed a bigger reveal than that.
I'm sure if your friend had said the same thing, you'd be like, mind blown.
That's probably true.
Bullshit.
Here's the thing about the Rossi, the storyline. The most interesting part was they basically admitted after the race that they knew they couldn't beat Rossi on the extra hard. They knew they were going for it, and they kind of pulled this pseudo Jedi mind fucking, can you see me, catch me if you can thing, where they secretly switch tire on the grid, keep the tire warmers on to the very last second, and no one knew what he was on till the siding lap, right? So they're reacting to Rossi at this point. They're on the defense of the reaction, while Rossi basically said later, I don't know, we weren't even thinking about him. We just put the extra hard on, and that was our thing. He kind of openly admitted that, too, whether it's real or I don't know, because you can never really trust what Rossi says. But
mind game, bro, mind games.
For reals, it's like a superpower, dude. And then he, I don't know why. Just to me, it was Marquez is on the defensive. He's trying to remind and try to keep his stamp on things. And it's kind of the old saying, right? When you're holding a fistful of sand, the kind of tighter you grip, the more it comes. It squeezes out. I don't even think that's an old saying. I don't even know what saying I'm talking about. But
is that like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu saying or something?
That's what I was thinking. What are you talking about?
You idiot!
Yeah. But what I mean is, he's gripping right now, I think, Marquez. And their team is kind of known for innovative and pulling little tricks and starting new things with the 3 runs in Q2, which no one ever tried before, and the jumping from bike to bike, and trying to, work the rules at Phillip Island that one year. And, it's not working as well this time. I don't know how many times you can pull, the rabbit out of your hat, but the story for me wasn't necessarily the rabbit and the hare as much as Marquez is trying to react to Rossi instead of Rossi trying to chase Marquez right now.
Yeah, I mean, Marquez and the whole team definitely had a handle on everything for the past 2 years. Like there were surprises when, like in Phillip Island when they tried to game the system, but it was just like, oh, no big deal. We'll just win the championship in the next round.
Right, because they were, they'd won so many races. Fuck it, let's try, let's interpret the rules weird and do it. But now, the gambles are different. You can do anything you want. He could have tried to run the race backwards when he had 11 straight wins. Who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
But now it's, not working for him so well.
Yeah, the reaction is new. Like, oh, I don't even know.
I feel like when I edit this, I'm gonna change the tone of that voice into like a chipmunk or something.
Just doing my job.
No, Dennis, you can't screw with it, man. There's no way.
Classy girl like you.
Sue me, dickhead.
All right,
again, Dovey, another second, 3 straight fucking seconds. He's the first rider since Stoner to get fucking dry race podiums on the Ducati, and now he's got 3.
No,
you know what I mean?
No, he's the only Ducati rider to ever podium in the first 3 races of the year. Because I'm
don't bullshit me.
Is that real? Is that true?
I will confirm. I'm 90% confident. I will confirm.
Holy shit!
Huh.
Yeah. So Stoner in the second race of the year in 2007 did not podium. He got 5th.
Okay, right. I remember that was like the cycle news was like, oh yeah, everything's back to normal because no one thought Stoner they all thought that the Qatar win was a fluke.
Yeah, and then he won the next 2, and then a podium, and then yeah.
If you guys keep saying Stoner's name, the listeners are gonna tune out because that's not exactly a hot topic. So.
Hey, except we have to talk about it. I mean, people keep bringing it.
I mean, I don't mind. I'm just saying, like on Barf. I mean, it's whatever.
Well, I think it's just Stoner obviously was considered kind of like the god in Ducati, and oh my god, he was able to ride it and all this. But now you're finding that the Ducati is a rideable bike. This bike handles. This bike maintains tires. This bike does what you want. And Dovey's, kind of proof of that. He is now podiumed, 3 straight times, and these aren't like gifted podiums. These are legit podiums. He qualifies well. He races well. He races with Rossi, and even if Marquez hadn't done his kind of stupid blunder, he'd have been on the podium anyway because Cal was not close to Dovey at the end of that race.
Yeah, Dovey got pulled up by Rossi. I mean, he's 6 points back of Rossi.
Wait, are you saying Cal's is an asterisk?
Yes, I am.
No, it is not true.
Who, by the way, has now podiumed in 3 different manufacturers.
Yes, and I have to eat my crow because I said he would not ever podium in a dry race, and he absolutely did.
Which I believe he took on the last corner against Iannone, right?
Yep.
The second to last corner, yeah. Iannone tried to come back around the outside, and just there was no room. So it didn't happen. Iannone actually, like watching that again and watching the replays, why did Iannone go in on like the normal wide entry line? Like who does that into the final passing spot? Why would you do that, Iannone? But it's okay. Didn't he complain about something that he was fiddling around with on the bike as well? We've been hearing that a lot lately.
He said he did not turn his map on for late race tire usage until too late.
Yeah, so that's like that happened in Superbike, that happened to Bradley at CotA, that Iannone is saying that now. Like, seriously, like, software engineers, get on this shit. Make it so that, like, a freaking flashy light reminds them.
I think it's a lie. I think it's like when Honda says, a bike doesn't do it had an electrical problem. The guy just says, I don't know, I forgot to switch the map. I was still riding hella hard, brah. I think
it threw a rod out of the cases, but it had an electrical problem.
Basically, I'm like,
come on, don't bullshit me.
Wait,
I agree, John.
So
I agree.
Do we believe Ducati when they said that they didn't run out of fuel at CotA and they just had a vapor lock problem, or they were unable?
No, it wasn't a vapor lock problem. It was the fuel overheated and couldn't get through the fuel pump.
Yeah, it couldn't pump because it was just bubbles or just.
And it was both bikes, wasn't it?
Having owned a Ducati, I can affirmatively say I'm not surprised that there was overheating issues.
But
if that was their explanation, I'm inclined to agree because it happened on both bikes.
Yeah, and only the GP15s. It didn't happen on the 14s or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they've got the fancy vent that's supposed to cool the fuel, and they have like really awesome like gold tape on the underside of the tank.
Right.
But obviously it didn't happen at Argentina. Not that is a high fuel usage track. So
well, I think that even if they are having fuel consumption problems, which who knows if that's true or not, it's a while before we get a fuel a thirsty track again. I think Moto Matter was talking about at one point. It's not really till Motegi that they have to really get it figured out. You know what I mean?
Maybe Indy a little bit, but now that they changed the last corner, it's probably not even that bad. So yeah, it's not until Motegi that we'll find out. And the other, they have the entire year to work on it, so there's no way they're going to run out of fuel at Motegi.
Perfect.
But you know what's more indicative of the GP15 success to me is the fact that Iannone is actually ahead of both Marquez and Jorge in the championship.
Right, and Marquez is what right. He made a boneheaded mistake, and that's kind of why. But he's legit ahead of Jorge.
Yeah,
he's doing better than Lorenzo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Lorenzo's not making stupid mistakes or having a weird beginning of the year like he did last year. He's just not doing all that great. Relatively, and Iannone is doing better than him.
So what is up with Jorge? Like he has more points than he had at the beginning of last year, but he seems more dejected. Like he seems just like down in the dumps and not knowing how to ride a GP bike anymore.
Yeah, I think we talked about it last. We talked about this last year when they changed the fuel limits. It took. Jorge's buttery smooth riding style and his kind of like famed that his ability for the nuance when he cracks the throttle mid corner was sharp. When they changed the fuel limits, they had to lose that somewhere, and they've lost it on the very beginning opening of the throttle. So
it can't be that though, because he scored more points in the second half of the season than anyone last year. Like Yamaha fixed that. So what is it? I mean,
here's mind games.
Hard tire. What?
Well, here's my take.
Is it mind games?
Yes.
It's mind games.
Yes.
No, actually, that's what I'm trying to get. I was talking with a friend about this, and definitely there's something going on in Lorenzo's head, but that's not the issue because there's always going to be mind games on the grid from one way or another. But the issue that I'm thinking with Lorenzo is that the guy is a double world champion. It's not till recently that he's kind of like on a downward slope, and I think the issue is that these younger guys that came in after Rossi, much more straight edge, hard focus kind of thing, they don't know, they might not know how to deal with like step back and to kind of bounce back from that because they're so used to just only knowing how to go forward, attain the top step like a world championship once or twice, but the moment that they fall off dramatically, like a big step back, like it flusters them, and they're trying very hard to figure out how to get around that. Unlike some guys, say like Rossi, who comes from like an earlier era, who somehow can get a grip when he finds himself taking a few steps back and then find himself forward again.
Well, I also think Rossi was at Ducati, right? So he knows what the fucking downward spiral really is.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know what I mean? Like he's at Yamaha going, shit, I just need to get a little bit faster and I can win. Like this ain't nothing.
But
you know what I mean? Like
I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about like Rossi in the 2007, 2008 era where Stoner came in and blew the doors out. He still knew how to come back from that, even though he effectively got his ass handed to him. Whereas,
I also think part of it was Rossi openly knew part of the reason he was getting his ass handed to him was the tires. And he made the claim, got the Bridgestones, and won the title the following year. So for him, there was, this kid Stoner's beating me, but maybe he's got better tires than me, so I just need those tires. But Lorenzo is saying, shit, Ross is on the same bike as me, and this guy is winning races. How the hell is he doing this? How is he stealing my top spot? There's no excuse. Like Rossi probably could have told himself a little bit of cognitive dissonance, like, oh, I just need those tires. Give me those tires and I can do it. And he did. But Lorenzo, what would you give him? A Honda? Because right now he's on a Yamaha and he's getting beat down.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's literally just been the off-season change, right? Like, because Jorge did score more points than everyone last year. Like, he did better than Rossi at the end of last year. if it wasn't for his early mistakes, he would have beat Rossi in the championship. But so like he finished last year thinking, I'm better than this guy, and then he starts off this season like dramatically worse.
Yeah, like a non-alien.
Yeah. I mean, he's 29 points behind Rossi.
What?
It's kind
Aliens?
of.
Not anymore. Not anymore, John.
Not anymore. Wait, so are we disbanding the aliens now? There are only 2 left, right? It's just Rossi and Martin.
What? Aliens?
Because Dovi can't be an alien yet. We've already argued about that repeatedly.
No, the alien thing, I want it done. I want it done. John disagrees with me, but
So shut up!
No, let me keep talking. I think the alien thing's dumb. It was invented in 2008, 2009 when like those 4 guys didn't just win every race. They fucking were every podium.
Yeah.
That's gone. Other guys get podiums. Bautista had podiums. Dovi had a bunch of podiums on a satellite bike. That year, a fucking Tech 3 bike, 2012, was on the podium 8 times, half the races. It's not just the wins. It was that they were podiuming every time too. Guys won races. Spies won race, and Marquez showed up and won in race. Like, the alien thing is done.
I'm gonna call it done when Dovi finally wins one. And that's my line right there.
This must be what they mean by poetic justice.
Right. Right.
Oh, finally, the Ducati will get on the top step of the box this year. I want it to be.
He's been too close, even when he's getting seconds, but he barely lost Qatar, and he was pretty darn close, all things considered, at Argentina. I think it's too close for him not to win. These aren't podiums where he's just getting gifted a podium, the guys are running away. He's there. You know what I mean? And this bike is brand new. They haven't even ridden this bike any tracks yet.
Yeah, that's very shocking that they can go into these weekends, and they kind of did the same thing like as Rossi at Argentina. It was a little under the radar. Like, he put on the medium tire and qualified really well, but it just I wasn't expecting that sort of pace from the race. And then Dovi just does it every single time. It's just like, where did you come from? Oh, you're battling for the podium. Look, you got second again. This is freaking amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet. What? What are you laughing at?
No, that was the end of my previous laugh. Continue.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I was just saying that, it's the same thing. Now you just kind of expect them to be on the podium. You expect Dovi to fight for podiums and be there. Now I'm going to be surprised if he's not in the top 5, instead of thinking, oh, shit, he's in the top 5. It's a pretty good result. You know what I mean?
Do either one of you want to call when a win would be coming?
What?
Do either one of you care to kind of, say when a win might be coming for Ducati or Dovizioso?
What happens in a few days?
Dovizioso wins.
I'll pick a track.
Well, which round, basically? Okay, yeah, which track?
I'm going to go with Catalunya.
Wrong.
Not going to be Catalunya. Actually, probably would if it was. Motegi, if they can get the fuel consumption thing under control, because it is a pretty horsepowery track. Ducatis do have a pretty good track record there. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I think it has to be a track where Rossi and Marquez kind of hold each other back and are battling for something. So I think it'll be a little bit later in the season when they're battling it out, and they don't. I don't think it's going to be early in the season. I think it's going to be well into the second half.
So you think like Dovi has to like sneak up on them the whole weekend, and they have to like trip each other up, and then he just like blows by?
I think it's in a time when Rossi and Marquez are going to be kind of in a close title fight, and I think it is going to be a close title fight based on what we've seen already. And they're going to be scrapping, and probably a time when Dovi gets a good hole shot after a pole position, and those guys are scrapping with each other for points, and Dovi just kind of gets away from it. Kind of remind me of when Stoner got a bunch of wins in 2010 when he was at the end of the season after Lorenzo was kind of wrapping the title up, and Stoner got a couple of wins at Ducati at the end of the season.
But Marquez doesn't ride like that. He doesn't battle for points.
No. Sorry, you're mistaking me. I'm not saying they're going to be battling for points. I'm going to be saying they're literally going to be battling each other.
Oh, okay. All right.
So they're going to slow each other down. They're going to make mistakes. There's probably going to be some paint swapping, and it's going to let Dovey get away.
Someone will put an asterisk on that just for you.
Yes.
Be like, no, it was just Dovey only won because Rossi and Marquez slowed each other down. That's what it'll be.
You're right.
But all right, so you're not picking a track, but yeah, the circumstances. I mean, after Qatar, I kind of was thinking that a dominant win might be possible, like, just a straight head-to-head battle, and he just comes out on top. And I mean, I think that they'll be able to replicate that form just because the bike is going to consistently get better. I mean, as they get into Europe, they're going to be able to do more development, and they're going to have more engineers there.
You're right, and the other thing too, at Mugello might not be a bad shot for that win. The other thing is they're still developing, have unlimited development and more engines. They sealed Marquez's third engine already.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that. That's because.
So I don't know how much development they're getting, or how much better the bike's going to get, or how tired the engines might be. But the Honda is probably what it's going to be this year. But the Ducati can get better, and I think it will.
Yeah, I wonder if HRC is going to do some chassis development that's more focused on Marquez, especially now that Danny is out of the picture. Because I feel like in the off season they brought a bunch of chassis and Danny and Marquez weren't exactly saying the exact same thing. Like Danny likes the bike to be a little smoother than Marquez, but now with Marquez being the only rider here, at least until probably Le Mans. Maybe he's going to get first dibs, and they're just going to make him another Marquez chassis for him.
And the other story that we kind of skimmed on, not to change subject, was not only did Cal get a podium, but he sort of openly admitted that the plan, quote unquote, was to get out there and hold those guys up. It's almost as if Honda had some team orders going, which they've been traditionally against, team orders. But Honda, Cal kind of dropped the
what they want, right? We know that HRC will say one thing and then do another. Like, I'm not surprised at all that. But yeah, it was kind of weird to hear Cal say that, because he didn't really do that. Like he was up there he was kind of battling with them, but then he started making mistakes. And if they wanted to, I feel like the other guys in the group could have just pulled away. Like, the only one that he probably held up was Rossi, as Rossi was coming up through the pack and, waiting for the extra hard rear tire to get in. And, I mean, the plan failed.
I hear you. Go on.
No, that's it. That's all I got.
All right, then does that segue? If we're done with that, then that's our final thoughts. Are we segueing into the sewer of motorcycle racing? Excuse me, I mean Moto America.
Oh, that's just because you didn't watch the races. I mean,
because you can't watch the races. It's not physically possible.
So shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
No, you can watch them live, actually. So Moto America managed to pull that one out of the hat. They responded to everyone's complaints from CotA that the race in quotation marks was on tape delay, and they put together a live streaming package in 1 week, which is freaking amazing. Like, I don't know how.
I like that.
I don't know how they got that one together, but they they must have had something before CotA and they were planning on it. But to be able to get it out for Road America right away was pretty phenomenal. Unfortunately, I was unable to watch the live streaming. I heard that there was no graphics; it was just the track announcers. So it's kind of like what you get at a club race, unfortunately.
It sounds like an AFM race.
Yeah. Yeah, there were a few more cameras.
Outrageous, and I will repeal it.
So yeah, Moto America had a few more cameras, but people got to watch the race and they said they enjoyed it. I know it rained a ton in Road America. Like I have a few buddies that are racing in Superstock and Supersport, and they had a gnarly time. And all the riders have been really positive about what's happening with the organization. It's just unfortunate that we can't really see as much of it as we'd like. But I think,
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it kind of builds up to just something better throughout, as the season goes on. Because, I mean, we get something, so we can't really complain. But on the other hand, our series deserves better. But like I said, I'm sure they're working on the kinks and whatnot.
well, I mean, it took them 1 week.
I'm not interested in that.
It took them 1 week from COTA to Road Atlanta to put together a streaming service. What are they going to do in this short break between Road America and the next round?
Yeah, and that's really the strength of having Dorna behind them in some facet. Things can actually get done now. Like there'll be some pains and some teething, but they can actually respond and get stuff done. There is investment behind them, there is backing, and there is someone, they have kind of a plan and a vision for what it's going to be, which I think that DMG just did not have for the final 3-4 years of what it was. They were just going through the motions.
Yeah, and I mean, the hard part, like getting the racers to show up, getting the rule book sorted, like, the majority of that is done, so they can really just focus on promoting the series and getting fans, butts in the seats and getting people to watch on TV. Like, it's kind of interesting. Like, I think Bernie Ecclestone was the one that said, "I don't care if people show up to the race as long as they all turn on the TV." So I think Moto America needs to adopt that sort of philosophy because we're kind of over the whole mindset of like you have to attend the race, but if you can get 1 million people to watch it on the internet, then you're gonna have a good series.
Right, I agree.
So I mean, Moto America needs to make it to that point where they can charge CBS to show the race instead of them having to pay CBS to show it. Like, I bet you Supercross is the only series in the U.S. As far as motorcycle series that can actually charge like Fox to show their races. But it'd be nice if road racing made it to that level in this country. But yeah, they've got until the middle of May 15th and 15th to 17th before the next round at VIR. So hopefully they'll get some stuff done. They're going to change.
Hopefully it's not raining.
Yeah, I know, right? I live in San Diego and it's freaking raining today. What the hell is going on?
What the hell?
I
Come
know.
on, don't bullshit me.
It might be raining at my races this weekend in Fontana. It's going to suck. Well, whatever.
So basically, if we want rain here, we should just be racing every weekend then.
Yeah,
Right.
but we've known that for how long, right? GP goes to the desert and it pours on them.
That's true.
But yeah, so I'm excited about Moto America.
When is the next Moto America round?
May 15th to the 17th.
Okay, so the next World Superbike round is actually the weekend of May 10th, so the week before that, and MotoGP, I believe, is on May 3rd, a couple of weeks from now. So it's basically one after the other then.
Yeah, well, it'll be nice to have a weekend where there's not like 7 different racing organizations.
Yeah, what was up with that?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people have called down on it. Like, it detracts
Don't do
from
that.
everyone. Sorry, we have...
Outrageous, and I will repeal it.
Oh, man. The GP race was so much better than the Formula One race, and so was Superbike, too.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I got nothing else to add unless either one of you do.
Now let's wrap
Excuse me,
it
I
up.
have a few more questions if you don't mind. Who is your daddy, and what does he do?
Huh, interesting.
What's your real name?
I'm going to take it Kevin's got nothing left to add, so we're
What?
just going to go ahead and wrap up this episode. We will promise that we will invite Kevin's friend again because he's, quite a color.
I'll be
Character.
back.
I set that up, didn't I?
Hasta la vista, baby.
Oh, man.
On that note, we will end this episode and we will catch you on to the next one. I don't know when it's going to be because, like I said, starting the next weekend, not this weekend, it's going to be one racing weekend after the other. So the boys and I will figure out how we're going to go about recording the next episode or two to cover all of them. But until then, thank you for listening and stay tuned.
Goodbye.
Bye.